welcome to Delta College Impact. I'm Roger Wall, your host for today's program. And on today's show, we're going to give you some tips on how to get a job or how to get a better job. And we're also going to talk about some new and exciting online courses here at Delta College. And joining me for all of this excitement is Diane Feneck, who's an adjunct instructor here at Delta. And Diane, I know it's amazing to think about, but how long have you been teaching here at Delta College?
10 years this summer.
I know, it's just amazing when you think about it, yeah. Well, it goes fast though, Diane.
Yes.
I know that's one of the great things. And and your specialty is really talking about job-seeking skills and a lot of the stuff that everyone wants to have when you're out there thinking, I don't like my job today, I want to find a new one.
Right.
And so, but one of the exciting things, and we might as well get into this right now, is that you have taken this class out of the traditional classroom and you're now teaching it online. And let's talk a little bit about your online experiences this semester.
Okay, sounds great. I developed a course. It's the same course that I've been teaching here for 10 years, but the Job Seeking Skills course, Guidance 33. And we placed it online for the first time this past semester. It was extremely successful. And it basically talks about some self-assessment for resume development, because I really believe that people need to know themselves before they actually develop their resume. They need to know what to put on the resume. And then we went from self-development or career assessment for resume development and moved into other topics like how to tap into the hidden job market, how to develop a resume, how to interview for success, how to keep your job once you get your job. And so students basically took the course from their home computers, and I taught the course from my home computer probably the entire time. It was wonderful.
Did you find it a big challenge when you don't actually see the students and have that opportunity of interacting? I
mean, you've taught online courses, and one of the things that I've discovered is that the relationships were almost more personal, because students communicated with me pretty frequently. It probably asked me a lot more questions for clarification, but additionally just would share a thought here and there. And with the online courses, you get to do things like have journals that you can look at and correspond with your students. Students use those journals, and I felt like I really got to know them very well. I never really saw their faces, often wondered what they looked like, but just curiosity, but I felt like I knew them.
And I know that's really one of the key things when you think about a resume or just making that initial approach to an employer, is a lot of times the employer doesn't see you. And it's very important to have that well-written, well-prepared resume when you start to think about it. And I know when you compare, because Guidance 33 is also taught in the classroom as well as being online, and it's a relatively short course, isn't it? It's not designed for a full semester. Right.
It's anywhere from 16 to 18 hours long. The guidance courses, there are a variety of them, and most of them are short-term courses, many of which are late starting. So it's wonderful for students because they have an opportunity of starting a one-unit course midway through the semester if they need to pick up a unit. And so, yes, they last about 6 weeks in duration, usually.
And I know the same online, it's about a 6-week online?
It was about a 6-week course online, and it was pretty interesting because the way we set it up was that the course started on a particular day of the week, and then the students had I had each segment of the course labeled as a unit, so the students had about a week to complete each unit, so they could tap into that unit at any time during that week that they wanted to. So it was really neat because it gives students, students don't have to be, they don't have a time at which they have to be at class. They go when they want to go. So it's very nice.
And I know that also fits in when they don't know when they're going to be looking for a job either. And so it's nice to have that opportunity to look for a Guidance 33 class, which is to help prepare you for looking for that job when it may come up all of a sudden.
Exactly.
And I know, talking about some of those other support courses here at Delta, we might want to talk not only about Guidance 33 and really giving you that opportunity to talk about that course, but there are a number of other Delta College classes to help people with job skills.
Yes, absolutely. We have a series of courses that basically correspond with the career life planning process. You start with self-assessment, so there's a Guidance 30 course that focuses primarily on self, and it's all about your inner world, what your values, your interests, your skills, your personality type, what kind of a lifestyle you'd prefer. And we take students through a series of activities to kind of help them gain knowledge. What I tell students, however, is oftentimes they feel that they're doing a lot of busy work about themselves, but it's really a way of organizing self-knowledge. And so when they actually get to the interview down the road, they've done some organizing of their inner world, and it helps them to articulate what they have to offer to an employer much more effectively. Following the Guidance 30 course, we have a Guidance 31 course, which is career exploration, and that course basically now steps to the outer world of work. So you go from your inner world to the outer world. I always refer to it as shopping for the job, because once you know yourself, then you can go out and actually investigate career options. And we have a wonderful career center. And so our students in the Guidance 31 course use the Career Center as a lab to access occupational information. Following the 31 class is a Guidance 32 course, which is informational interviewing. And in the informational interview, the student then goes out and actually interviews people who are happily employed in an occupation. And that helps to really validate the information that they've gotten from the Career Center, from written resources and computer resources. Helps them to really find out if that information is accurate. Not only that, it helps them to really get a feel for the actual work environment, but most importantly, it helps them to develop a network of people who can be helpful to them down the road when they are actually seeking employment. So they're wonderful courses. We have also a Guidance 17 course, which is people in transitions, primarily geared toward the reentry student, and we are looking down the road at putting Guidance 30, 31, and 32 online. So we're hoping that that's something that students will have available to them in the near future. And I also talked with the Director of Guidance and Counseling, Mark Mekovich, and they are even looking at putting their orientation courses as well as actual advisement online. So not only are there wonderful courses offered here on campus, but they're going to be available online.
And I know that's really one of the opportunities for our students who maybe can't come down to our campuses to link some of the guidance activities with them in your home, or link you with an instructor and get that opportunity to get some of those skill development courses talked about.
Absolutely.
Now, you talked about our Career Center, and you might want to brag about them a little bit more, because I know they've been an award winner and really are looked at as a model. You might talk a little bit more about what they do for a student.
Yes, I think, and I'm probably going to blow it on the actual initials here, but I think by the NCRV we were awarded a while back on being a model career center. We have an outstanding staff, some wonderful people in the Career Center, and we have computer programs, we have a video library, we have just written resources, an entire wall of college catalogs. I mean, students have at their fingertips mounds of information relating to education, career, exploration type things. There's just so much information. We also have Joan, who does the job development part of our career services, and we are also partnered with the EDD, and Elaine is the person there, which, because of our partnership, we have Cal Jobs available to us on our computers. So we have wonderful resources, and students have access to that, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. They can go in there at any time, and some things require appointments. We also have assessment tools that help with, the whole process, Myers-Briggs, strong interest. There is a small fee for those, but they can be obtained through the Career Center as well. So it's a wonderful place to gather information on employment, career, or education.
And I really have to brag about them also, because those assessment tools, even though Diane indicated there's a small fee, that is a really small fee compared to what you get. When you talk about Myers-Briggs and some of these other assessment tools, if you would do this out in the real world, there'd be a huge cost that would be involved in it, and it's really a great opportunity, because after a student takes Myers-Briggs, then they also have the opportunity of sitting down and talking with somebody about the results.
We have a wonderful counseling staff in our Guidance and Counseling Division, and so students, can see any one of the counselors and get some additional information. The wonderful thing about the Myers-Briggs and Strong Interest, and those are two of my favorites. I'm actually going to workshops this summer to increase my own knowledge of the tools. So I'm looking forward to that. But you get a wonderful computerized interpretation of both assessments, and lists of occupations that, based on the way you answer the questions, might be good choices for you. And that's a big push for me from a career counseling standpoint. I want to see people find occupations that they're well suited for, because then it's a win-win situation, not only for yourself but for your employer. You're going to like what you do. And too many people don't like what they do. So it's important to find something you're well suited for. With Myers-Briggs and Strong Interest, you get a wonderful interpretation from the computer, and then you can talk to any one of the counselors to get more clarification if needed. We also have videos that you can observe, and we use the tools in the Guidance 30. In the Guidance 30 course. We used to use Strong in the Guidance 31, but we're trying to keep them both in the 30. So students that take those courses will use the tools there.
And I think one of the great things is that it really gives you an idea of where to turn in that Delta College schedule book when you get it at your home.
Absolutely.
Is to go right to the guidance area, and you just go guidance 30, 31, 32, 33, and then you also have some other wonderful guidance courses to help you out with your career exploration and getting that job.
Right.
And I know you talked about the link with EDD, and I think we might want to expand on that, because not only does it give the students the opportunity of finding a job, but it links you with the whole state network of finding a job.
And we have computer access available right in the Career Center. And Elaine is a wonderful asset to our staff. She is there to provide the information for students and share information with them, obviously, clarify. So it's a wonderful asset to our staff. Elaine's been with us for a long time. And so you don't have to go anywhere else but to the Career Center, because it's all right there.
And I think one of the great things is when you start to think about it is, as you say, you sign up for that one course and you get the opportunity of working with a wonderful staff to support you, and then that course leads to another course and hopefully then gets you into some additional courses here at Delta College.
Right.
How many students would you say work through the Career Center?
Oh gosh, that's a really good question, Roger. But a lot, a lot. And then once they tap into our courses, then they become acclimated with the Career Center. I mean, there are some students who, aren't aware that we're there. I think we have lots of visibility these days, but I think every now and then, once they take the course and they have the orientation, it's like, wow, I didn't know I had all of this at my fingertips. So we have a lot of students, and any time that you walk through that Career Center, there are students there accessing the information. It's wonderful.
And that's the second floor of Danner Center, which is the Student Center here on campus. Well, we're going to take a brief pause here for a couple of public service messages, but when we come back, Diane's going to talk about some specific tips to help you get that job and talk about some additional resources here at Delta College. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to Delta College Impact. I'm Roger Waller, your host for today's program. And today's show, we're talking about that job, getting the right one and how you do it. And joining me to talk about this real challenge of finding a good job is Diane Feneck, an adjunct instructor here at Delta College. And Diane, on the first half of the program, we talked about some of the tremendous resources that we have here at Delta College.
Yes.
And now we want to get into some of those tips on how we get those people those jobs. And I know that's your challenge, is that it's really exciting when you have a student who comes back and says, Mrs. Feneck, I really want to thank you for your help in, getting me this job. And instantly Diane probably says, and what sort of discount can you get for me? But I know that one of the other things is that, it's really a challenge, because it's not every job is right for everybody. And I guess that's really one of the things that you have to sell.
Absolutely. I always have to qualify this by saying I come from a career counseling standpoint, and my big push is that you have to choose occupations that you are well suited for. So a lot of people want to just get employed so that they can make some money, and I understand that sometimes that's where we are in life. But I really do push that people find occupations that they're suited for, because then if you know yourself and you know why you're applying for that job, when it comes to selling yourself in an interview and on your resume, you are in a better position to talk about why you're qualified for the job.
And I know that's really one of the things, is that not every job is perfect for everybody. And I know one of the challenges that you talked about is getting people to know about job opportunities. And I guess just starting at that basic core spot, just look in the newspaper. Is that the only tip that you give to people?
Actually, no. I mean, the newspaper is a wonderful resource, and I always encourage people to utilize it. But some of the statistics say, you know, you're seeing about 5 to 15% of occupations that are vacant in the newspaper. I'm still a firm believer in the old saying, it's who you know. Networking. You need to talk it up. If you know exactly what type of work you're looking for, then you need to know exactly how you want to share that information with everybody you know and all the people they know, because people then become eyes and ears for you. It really is who you know. The hidden job market is made up of 75% of available jobs. That may have changed now that we've got internet, but I still believe that it's you're going to be much more effective if you talk to people you know and the people that they know, and they connect you to the available jobs. I'm not discounting things like the newspaper, because certainly that's an effective method, but when you know that not all the jobs are listed there, then you've got to know what your other options are. So job development department in the Career Center is another great resource. You know, things like sending out your resume just randomly, you know, filling out applications randomly, those are not always the most effective method, because anytime you're submitting the paper process, and you're probably well aware of this, there's room for getting screened out. So, you know, direct face-to-face contact with employer is really the most effective.
Yeah, I know that that's really one of the key things, is that we're going to talk a little bit about that tip on that sheet of paper, because it's still very important. But the key of having somebody walking into the HR manager in a company and saying, hey, I have a friend from my church who, or from a professional association who's looking for a job, and I know we need somebody, really can go a long way. First is the person who says, hey, I met a person at a bar, and you know, one of those things may not be quite as effective. But so yeah, that's really a great tip, is to say, you know, just don't look in the newspaper. I mean, that's relatively passive, that you have to be a little bit more proactive in going out to find that job opportunity. And I guess one of the things is, you alluded to the online. Are you finding a lot more jobs being listed online now?
They are definitely listed online, and that's certainly one of the methods for obtaining work opportunities. And I think that what happens there, especially in the high-tech arena, it shows that you are computer literate, that you know how to surf the web, you know how to access various resources, and so, I mean, that's certainly an option as well. The great thing about internet is that you can go online at any time of the day, and so your job search availability, you know, is huge, because you can, you know, be looking at job opportunities at 3 o'clock in the morning, where, you know, under normal circumstances, in the traditional method, you're not going to necessarily be doing that. But I do want to say that when you are accessing people you know, you have to be prepared, and you have to know yourself, know what it is you're looking for, know why you're looking for that type of position, so that you can articulate that information effectively to the person, and present yourself well. Because really, Roger, would you want to put your reputation out on the line for somebody who came off as kind of flaky or not sure of themselves? You're not going to want to tell one of your colleagues, hey, I know somebody who might be qualified, if they're not presenting themselves well. So it goes right back down to, you know, the basic skills when it comes to interviewing and resume writing. You have to present it all well in order to be effective, and in order to be somebody that I'm going to, you know, you're going to want to pass on to somebody else.
And I think that's a great point, because you can just imagine the first question, if I went to you, Diane, and said, hey, could you help me find a job? First thing you're going to ask me is, what am I interested in? And then you go into your HR manager and you say, I have a friend who's interested in a job. The first question they're going to say is, what are they interested in, and what are their skills? And that really leads us to that sheet of paper, or that other self-assessment tool that we call a resume, where you put on paper what you think's important. And what are some of the tips of putting together that good resume?
Well, I think that, again, and I'll say this over and over again, but you have to know yourself before you can put anything down, because you have to know yourself, and you have to know the job for which you're applying. A lot of students want to do a general resume, and I'm okay with that. I'm not against that because I think then you can use a tool like the cover letter to make it more targeted. However, I really am in favor of the targeted resume. If you know yourself and you know the job that you're applying for, then what you can basically do is get a job description, and you can develop your resume based on what you have to offer and the needs of the company for the person that they want to fill the job. You can really make it speak to their language. And I'm not implying that you should copy the job description onto paper, but I do think you can say, hey, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, and then translate it into appropriate accomplishment statements onto the resume. So I guess what I would say is know yourself, know the job, get your hands on a resume, a job description, so that you can effectively develop the resume. And all the basics need to be there. Obviously, identifying information. The objective statement is pretty optional, but I like it because it tells the employer, this is what I want to do. This is the position I'm looking for. Summary of qualifications is important. And then education and any accomplishments you can list. And when I say accomplishments, I don't mean just a laundry list of your job tasks, because anybody that's applying for the job should meet those minimal qualifications. But what did you do differently? How did you do your job better than somebody else who might have those same minimal qualifications?
Well, that's probably a great point, is when I think about, now as we talk about this, I always think about what sort of resume would I put together. And I'm thinking, as opposed to me just saying, and I teach business classes at Delta College, it's really, how can I give that reader a better idea of what do I do differently in that class?
Exactly.
And I know one of the things you alluded to is people might be sitting out there thinking, oh, how do I know a job description? Well, you talked about going into the Delta Career Center and really looking up some of those fundamentals and then saying, maybe I have done that, and then trying to explain it in good phrasing, that's going to be what fits for you.
Right, and you can go to any human resource department and ask for a job description, and they can give you a job description. Oftentimes it's very detailed, and it'll tell you exactly how much, and we all know that job descriptions are general, but if you can't access that, the Career Center has books like the Dictionary of Occupational Titles or the Occupational Outlook Handbook. Both books give general descriptions of different types of jobs, and so you could certainly at least find out skills, knowledge, abilities that are required for the job. So that's an excellent tip that you've given, that they can go to the Career Center and tap into that information.
And I know you talked about the cover letter, and I guess as opposed to just folding up my resume and sticking it in an envelope and sending it off, I should give a little cover letter that maybe gives that reader an idea of why am I sending him that resume.
Right. I saw something in the Career Center, one of our handouts, and it said, sending a resume without a cover letter is like giving a gift without a card. And I thought that was great. You need an introduction. With that in mind, cover letter and resume are both examples of your written communication skills. Therefore, they have to be done well, because when you send this information off to an employer, your writing ability is demonstrated, your communication ability is demonstrated, and if it's not done well, and if it's not error-free, then it can get tossed. Employers will use very minor things. They're not minor, but what other people seem to think are minor, like spelling errors or typos or whatever. That's a reason for them to eliminate it. So a cover letter definitely accompanies a resume, and it introduces the resume. It doesn't reiterate everything you've already put on your resume, but it highlights some of the things. It entices that person that's reading it to want to read more. But again, it represents you. And needs to be done well. And
I think that's a great point. You don't see too many employers saying, I'm looking for that resume that has 15 typographical errors in it. That's the person I want to hire. But so the resume and cover letter get me in the door, and I know we're getting close to the end, and now I get to that interview and they call me up and I'm excited, and I sit there, and what's some of those tips to get me ready for that exciting interview?
Well, again, if you've written your resume, Roger, then you've already started preparing for the interview, which is wonderful. because you can tap into the information on your resume, but you need to know what job you're applying for, know the specifics about that job, know something about the company. So, knowing yourself, the job, the company, those are all crucial. And then practice, 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 because it's oftentimes the most prepared person who gets the job and not always the most qualified. It's about how we present ourselves. And employers on a panel that we had recently here at Delta College basically said, we look for motivation, we look for passion, we want that person who really wants the job. And that's important to remember. So, being prepared in that interview and being able to demonstrate that you know yourself and you know why it is you want this job. It can't be because it's convenient or it pays well, you need the money. There needs to be a direct link to, not only your motivation, but your interest in the job.
So asking a question about how many days vacation do I get is maybe not the best way to go.
No.
But really sitting there but asking a question about the company and that opportunity is something that somebody should be prepared to do.
Yes, an interview is a two-way street. I mean, just as much as they're there to learn about you, you need to learn about them, because you need to make the decision as to whether or not this is a good choice for you, because that's important as well. You're not going to be happy on the job if the company or the job description don't suit who you are. So it's a mutual exchange of information, and obviously in an interview they're going to ask more of the questions, but you need to be able to ask some good questions as well.
Absolutely, and I think that we've gotten a lot of tips, and there's a lot more that we could be giving you, but I think the best thing that our audience can think about is contacting Diane Feneck here at Delta College, and you can also stop by our Career Center in Danner 203, or give a call to the Career Center at 954-5675 to learn more about our guidance courses, because there are a lot of tips, and some of the outputs of our classes include that resume and cover letter and really career exploration. So I want to thank Diane for joining me, and we hope that you've all picked up some great tips that will help you find that correct job for you. And thanks for watching Impact, and we hope to see you at a future show. Bye-bye.